Hello everyone, back again with Out of the Box. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the thriller films from 2019 called Evil Intent. Before we get to the storyline, like and subscribe to our channel and enjoy. Toward the start of the film, we are shown an old female patient who is gone to by a delightful medical attendant named Gwen. At that point, the patient is encountering windedness. Also, requests that more oxygen be provided to her. All things considered, the medical caretaker switches off the oxygen and presses the air tube, making the patient not be able to breathe. The patient's pulse is halted because of this activity. The attendant then professes to yell blue code, which carries specialists to help the patient. While the specialist is siphoning her heart, truth be told, the medical caretaker is simply remaining before the entryway, grinning very much like an insane person. Luckily, the patient's life is as yet ready to be saved by the specialist. In the wake of seeing their condition, the medical attendant leaves, as though she is fulfilled for what she has done. The scene then, at that point, movements to a huge house, where a little family gives off an impression of being residing calmly. The spouse, Mira, is getting ready breakfast for her significant other Todd. Their child, Max, then, at that point, moving toward them then lets them know that he disapproves of his legs. Max experiences strong dystrophy, which requires the utilization of braces to assist him with strolling around. Mira becomes stressed when she hears this since her kid frequently strolls all over the steps all alone. In any case, Todd attempts to quiet them down. Furthermore, accepts it as something typical. Following that, it just so happens, Gwen, the maniac medical attendant, works in the house to deal with Max. While them four are having breakfast together, Max inadvertently drops his brace. Gwen then, at that point, assists him with taking his brace back, yet she intentionally relaxes the finish of his brace so that Maximum will fall because of it later. Not long from that point forward, Todd is all set to work, while Mira neatens his suit. Gwen is somewhat desirous when she sees Todd and Mira's closeness after Todd is left for works. One of Mira's companions, Karen, stay with her at her home. The two of them can perceive how cheerful Gwen and Max are, the point at which they are having a good time getting it done. During their discussion, Mira communicates her sentiments that Maximum and Todd favor Gwen over herself. At that point, Gwen deliberately hears their discussion. Karen then, at that point, proposes that Mira really takes a look at the references of different medical caretakers could possibly supplant Gwen. Yet, Mira denies since she accepts Gwen has taken great consideration of Max. They then hear Max's shouts as he tumbles to the ground. Mira, who sees Max's condition, faults Gwen for her thoughtlessness. In any case, Max makes sense of that it isn't Gwen's issue. As indicated by him, the brace breaks out of the blue while he is strolling around the house. Mira attempts to contact Specialist Keller to beware of Max's condition, as well as to request another bolsters to supplant Max's wrecked ones. Sometime thereafter, Mira apologizes to Gwen for what happened this evening. Gwen then, at that point, said it was fine since it was an upsetting second for her as a mother. Gwen likewise makes a helpful tea for Mira so that she can rest. The following day, Mira joins the local area of individuals with strong dystrophy. She recounts the account of Max, who has been analyzed for this present year. Max begins to encounter it when he climbs up the slide and falls in reverse onto the sand in the wake of slipping. Mira can't keep down her tears as she recalls the occurrence, and she's so terrified when she saw Max fall on the earlier day. At the point when Mira gets back, she is shocked by Gwen, who shows up all of a sudden and offers Mira another tea. While Mira is resting on the couch, Specialist Keller comes to the house to provide Max with another sets of supports. In any case, Gwen doesn't permit Specialist Keller to meet Max. At the point when she is going to leave, she says that she appears to know Gwen. However, she has forgotten where she last saw her. However, she has guaranteed Gwen, assuming she can review it, she will tell her. When Gwen goes into the house, she promptly infuses something into her. What's more, says that they know one another from their time in the clinic. They were treating, as a matter of fact, the patient who Gwen endeavored to kill toward the start of the film. Gwen likewise concedes that she expects to kill Specialist Keller, who is viewed as a disturbance to her and her loved ones. To give you some foundation, Gwen is fixated on family connections, which is the reason she acts along these lines. It turns out she has infused Specialist Keller with a high portion of medications, which renders Specialist Keller oblivious. Afterward, that evening, Dottie attempts to draw nearer to Mira by telling her that his child, Carter, additionally experiences strong dystrophy. In any case, when she needs to see the individual she was conversing with, she can see a low-goal photograph of the man. David concedes that his better half has passed on, and following that, he is being assisted by a medical caretaker with dealing with Carter. Mira, who hears this, accepts. She made the right stride by employing a medical caretaker to reside in a similar house with her. Be that as it may, Mira had no clue about that David is really Gwen herself, who changes her voice utilizing programming on a PC. In the first part of the day, Karen gets back to Mira's home, where she is at present having breakfast with her loved ones. Karen coincidentally spills a beverage on Todd's shirt. In the interim, Gwen looks entranced by Todd, and she then takes Todd's garments to the pantry. Karen, who sees Mira is unwell, offers to help her in getting her pack from her office room. Notwithstanding, as she passes by the pantry, Karen unintentionally sees Gwen smelling Todd's garments. Following evening, Gwen, who professes to be David, calls Mira once more and gets some information about her and Max's condition. Mira says that she isn't feeling great on that day, and David recommends her attendant to mind her to ensure she is alright. From that point onward, Gwen hangs up the telephone and promptly moves toward Mira. She then, at that point, claims to have gotten Mira and appears to blame Mira for undermining Todd. Gwen then, at that point, meets with Todd and lets him know that Mira has quite recently gotten off the telephone with a man. Gwen then, at that point, says goodnight and embraces Todd. The accompanying morning, Gwen and Todd are in the kitchen while Mira is still sleeping. Gwen then endeavors to entice Todd by contacting him, however is foiled by Mira, who has quite recently awoken from her rest. In the interim, Gwen has made breakfast, and even Gwen has assumed control over all the housework. Todd is stressed over Mira on the grounds that he frequently saw her resting on the couch. Karen then calls Mira to say thanks to Mira for sending her birthday roses on her extraordinary day. Be that as it may, Mira is confounded as she hears it, since she doesn't recollect sending it in any case. Karen is stressed about Mira's condition and encourages her to see a specialist. Nonetheless, it just so happens Gwen is the person who sent the roses, and she communicates worry that Mira will neglect Karen's birthday. From that point onward, Mira out of nowhere swoons. She said she needs to go see a specialist, and she asks Gwen not to inform Todd. However, Gwen rather offers to take Mira's blood to be taken to the lab. In the wake of seeing she is unwell, sometime thereafter, Mira tells David again about the issues at her home. Todd and Max return not long later, while Mira is occupied on the telephone. When Mira needs to go with Max to his room, her vision becomes foggy, and she vows to trail behind him. Simultaneously, Mira receives a message from an obscure individual illuminating her that David is a fake, similarly as she is going to nod off on the couch. The following day, Max is befuddled too, and he asks why his mom has been resting so much of late. Mira then, at that point, apologizes to Gwen for having a negative view of her in spite of the way that she has been working 24 hours at the house. However, Gwen feels cheerful in light of the fact that she is treated as though she is a piece of family in this house. Mira gets one more message about David. She essentially answers by telling him not to annoy her any longer. After then, Mira compels herself to go to work on that day. At the workplace, Mira lets Karen know that her lab test results is fine. She says that Gwen's idea was correct, where she simply has to rest. However, Karen encourages Mira to take the counsel of another specialist who doesn't have anything to do with Gwen. However, Mira doesn't care about it. Mira then, at that point, receives an email from Gwen masked as David. Counterfeit David needs to tell her that Weber, who frequently sends messages to Mira, is attempting to criticize him. Be that as it may, the subsequent message lets Mira know that her kid is at serious risk and requests that Mira meet at a bistro. At the point when she is at home, Todd hears her discussion with Gwen about the individual she needs to meet at the bistro tomorrow. Mira comes to a specific bistro that David has set up the following day. Furthermore, it is there she meets the genuine David Weber. David guarantees that he has no youngsters and that he has never addressed Mira. He illuminates that somebody masked as him, as well as the death of his significant other, Shrub, from cellular breakdown in the lungs. The justification behind this is that somebody convinced Shrub to stop chemotherapy and try not to see a specialist, which is like what Mira is going through at that point. Besides, David shows a photograph of a similar individual who was talking Mira, alongside a photograph of a phony kid that David had shown when he called Mira. Mira looks as though she can't completely accept that what she's seen. Yet, she actually doesn't think Gwen is behind it. Incidentally, Todd has been following Mira and sees Mira embracing David. Gwen, then again, is visited by Karen to give Mira another plan sack. Besides, she is here since she needs to converse with Gwen about the issues at the house. Karen says that she has recently saw Gwen smelling Todd's shirt. Also, that's what she undermines in the event that Gwen is playing with this family. She will playing with Gwen too. Nonetheless, as Karen is going to get back, she is hit in the back by Gwen. From that point onward, Gwen takes Karen to a place where Karen is infused with something before she leaves Karen with her vehicle. Mira, who is planning to feed supper, gets a message from David that he will be home late in that night. Max and Gwen show up for Max's active recuperation. By then, Gwen suddenly takes Mira's blade and goes out with her desired reason to meet up with her close buddy. It just so happens, Gwen goes to evidently see David and they know one another. She knows the area of David's home additionally on account of Mira. What's more, it turns out that Gwen was David's significant other's medical attendant before she passed on. Additionally, she is the person who encourages David's significant other to quit taking specialist's treatment. She then, at that point, wounds David with the blade and pours blood close to David's dead body. From that point onward, she leaves David and carries his pack with her. Sometime thereafter, Todd gets back tipsy since he's focused on with his significant other's way of behaving. The circumstance is utilized by Gwen to draw nearer to Todd. Gwen takes him to his room and she starts to entice him. Be that as it may, Todd appears to in any case be faithful to his significant other when he advises Gwen to leave his room. Mira, who has quite recently woken up, gets a message from David that says he was unable to rest since his little man proved unable rest. By the same token, in the interim, on the container, there are the words little man compassed by Gwen. Starting here, Mira starts to recalls by the way that David and Gwen generally utilizes something similar moniker for a youngster, which is little man. Subsequently, Mira discards the water in the jug Gwen has arranged. She then, at that point, observed that there is medication powder inside the water bottle. From that point onward, Mira goes into Gwen's room, where she found a book that examines the utilization of poison in medication. Mira likewise found a few medications concealed under the bed. She quickly surges out of Gwen's room as she understands Gwen has gotten back to home with Max. Gwen is astounded that Mira is alert so ahead of schedule, regardless if she ought to in any case be resting. Mira then, at that point, attempts to find out about the medication Gwen has given her. However, Gwen unexpectedly accompanies a beverage for herself and exhorts her to get a lot of rest. Gwen and Max will be getting back to the center for non-intrusive treatment. However, Max doesn't need to in light of the fact that there is football match-up in his treatment place. After they have left, Mira gets back to Gwen's room and records a video of how Gwen has treated her. She then, at that point, prepares to leave while calling Todd. Mira says that she, as of now, has proof against Gwen that she has recorded and she needs to report it to the police. Mira ponders where Max is and Gwen promptly takes her to meet Max. At the point when they, while heading to Max's place, Gwen lets the explanation know that she did this since she was never treated as a family by the patient she treated. Furthermore, all she needs is to have a cheerful family like Mira, which she can accomplish by getting free of Mira. From that point, Todd, then again, gets back and searches for Mira immediately, yet all he found is her cell phone. Todd then checks the video that had been recorded by Mira as proof. At the point when they show up at a house, Gwen concedes that she has killed people groups who have upset her family like Specialist Keller, Karen and furthermore David. When Mira knows this, she promptly searches for Max, just to figure out that Gwen has misled her. Gwen says that Maximum is still in treatment and she carries Mira to the house just to wrap up her off. Furthermore, Gwen uncovers that the blade used to kill David has Mira's fingerprints, since Mira was the last individual to utilize the blade. As we've seen previously, the blood that was spilled close to David's dead body was likewise Mira's blood, which had been approached to be taken to the test lab. Mira, who hears this, attempts to take off from that point, however she is hindered by Gwen. Eventually, they are compelled to battle one another, which Mira figures out how to get by giving a tea kettle disaster for Gwen. Therefore, Gwen at last blacked out and Mira quickly take off from the house with her vehicle. Truly, the consummation for this story is hurried, as the film just finishes with Todd, Mira and Max rejoining as one family. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.